Welcome, everybody, to an episode of Midwest Married. And today we have a very special guest with us.
I'm so excited.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, everybody. So I'm Amy.
I'm Matt.
Thank you for subscribing, watching, being with us here today. I'm so excited that you guys get to meet my longtime bestie. This is Sarah.
Hello, everybody.
And I am going to tell everyone how we met because I think it's so fun.
It's a great story.
So Sarah and I have been best friends ever since undergrad. So
it wasn't that long ago. Like really just like 5 years ago.
Right. Mm-hmm. So more like 20 years ago. No, just kidding.
I mean, really kind of though.
Anywho, we were freshmen in college and we were both in honors chemistry together.
We used to be smart.
Still there every now and then. So I, being very nerdy, chose on the first day of class to sit in the front row. Sarah, being nerdy but somewhat less nerdy, sat directly behind me. Mm-hmm. And so my first recollection of Sarah is when she told a story during when we were waiting for class to start, and she was talking to like her friends. Like I was just like eavesdropping and overhearing like the Sarah adventures basically of college life. And she was talking to her classmates about how she had gone to a drag show the weekend before. And she said that, yeah, it was so much fun. We had such a great time. I went to the bathroom and I was waiting for a stall and someone came out of the stall and I was about to go in it. And they said, "Oh, honey, you do not want to go in there. I pee standing up." And I still remember this story.
Obviously one of the drag queens, right?
Yes, it was a
like
drag
a drag
queen.
queen in the woman's bathroom. It was a whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I got that right though, right?
Absolutely.
That is my first recollection and introduction to Sarah. And basically then we were not even friends that first year, actually.
No.
I just apparently would
But I
overhear.
remember you. You were the girl in the scrubs. She always came like from work and you were always in scrubs because you were working as a CNA.
Yes.
Yeah, so you were always in scrubs. That's what I remember first about you.
And then we became actual friends the next year, and we both don't recall like how we started hanging out or anything. So we were all good friends in our younger years.
I think good is a strong word. Maybe a story for another episode.
There we go.
There's
another episode.
Plenty of episodes to come. We'll have Sarah back. We were good friends.
We were good friends. We came around.
But as we've matured, some of us, we all are drinking Coronas, which obviously means we all travel together.
Yay!
Obviously. That's what that means.
Is the theme tonight, is traveling.
My favorite thing to do.
Yes.
So I'm excited because we all travel as a group together. There's 6 of us that travel together.
My husband and another couple.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to get your guys' takes on what we got going tonight.
Yes, I hope to hear some fun stories, give our opinions, but then also we've got some really good travel tips for everybody out there for traveling with friends. We also have some travel horror stories that we've experienced. It's going to be a good episode.
There's a good mix, and because we're in the early stages of the podcast, like it's a very wide variety of travel topics.
Yes.
We're going to touch it all.
All right, let's do it.
You guys ready?
Ready.
All right. OP is Jesus tuna fish.
Oh, no.
Oh. That's an interesting name.
I don't know. I'm already on edge.
Here we go. My 28 female boyfriend, 29 male, and his best friend, 29 female, are going on a week-long vacation. They uninvited me.
Wait, the friend and the boyfriend uninvited the girlfriend?
Correct.
Oh.
Tell me more.
This is a problem.
Yeah.
My boyfriend wanted to go on vacation this summer to his mom's friend's house in Hawaii with me and his 2 best friends, 25 male and 29 female. We had been planning on this all spring, and at some point, 25 male dropped out of the trip, leaving just the 3 of us. For context, my boyfriend and I have been going out since November, and it's been serious. We had and still have been talking about moving in together, and he has said, and I agree, that this is a long-term situation and that we are in it for good. In early June, once 25 male unexpectedly dropped out of the trip, 29 female called my boyfriend and told him that now that it was just the three of us, she didn't feel comfortable with me going on the trip since she didn't know me that well, and she didn't want to be a third wheel while on the trip. She said that if I were to go, she wouldn't go on the trip. Without telling me that this was happening, they changed the plans and made it a trip for just the two of them, and they changed the location to a beach in Costa Rica.
I mean, that was a smart choice. We like Costa Rica.
Been there.
Been there, done that. It's
So
great.
nice. Mm-hmm. I was upset, and I tried to talk with him about how the situation made me feel, especially since this wasn't a case of a separate trip being set up ahead of time. This was the case of me being invited and then uninvited from a week-long tropical vacation with a girlfriend of his who I have never met before. We eventually decided to do a trip together to Copenhagen, which we have both wanted to visit as some sort of compensation or compromise. I also asked to meet her so that I could feel more comfortable with the trip. We spent the 4th of July together, and we're going to see her and her boyfriend in the city where they live. And although it was nice to put a face to the name, it was ultimately a very cold trip, and she was not welcoming at all. My boyfriend remarked on how unfriendly she was on the trip, to both of us actually, and said that he was surprised that she didn't act very warm. I went out of my way to try to get to know her and her boyfriend. I'm very outgoing and friendly, and usually this would be easy, but it didn't really click even after several days. They were somewhat cold to each other even. They bickered a little bit about their future and his own 3-week trip without her that was scheduled for the same time as my boyfriend's trip and hers. So this had been my effort to feel better about the trip. I told my boyfriend I didn't feel comfortable with things and that I was still feeling insulted by the way that this was all handled. I had tried to make things smooth between all of us, and I asked him to please come up with a solution that could help me feel better about it. On a visit to his family, they asked about the trip, and they were all shocked that he would have arranged it this way. They let me know that they would have been furious with him, which it triggered a fight between us, and I asked him to please come up with a strategy, make me feel better, make me feel secure about you going on a trip with another female by yourself to a tropical location. He said that he would probably never do this again, but it feels like he can't back out at this point in time since they've been friends for so long. He offered to not go on the trip at the end, but he had already paid for the tickets and made arrangements and didn't want to stop the trip because he would be resentful. So he asked me to give him ideas on how to make me feel better and wanted me to just tell him what to do. Installed until finally the day of the trip. He bought me a bag of peanut butter cups.
No. I think it should have been wine.
And
Yes.
made me drive him
Maybe tequila.
and her.
Something. Diamonds.
I interrupted. Oh,
Diamonds.
diamonds.
Diamonds. Yeah.
He bought me a bag of peanut butter cups,
Not enough.
and I drove the two of them to the airport.
Oh, God.
I feel so disregarded and disrespected in this situation. I honestly want to break up with him right now, but I don't want to burn up something that has been otherwise really good.
Oh, I have so many thoughts.
Go. Let's get it.
Well, I think my first initial thought was like when the initial guy backed out, why didn't the boyfriend come? But then they said that he was going on a 3-week trip, which I think is a little bizarre. Like going for a 3-week trip, why? Without your significant other? And these are 29-year-olds. Like, what are they doing that they have all this money that they can take these fabulous trips? And then to not bring your significant other? I think traveling with another woman as a male, nope, I wouldn't do it. There's a book out there. Have you read The People We Met on Vacation?
No.
It's basically where this exact same thing happens, where they're like lifelong friends, like best friends, and they were supposed to go on this vacation and all 3 of them were supposed to go, and then something comes up, and then the friends fall in love and have sex on the balcony. That's basically what happens. That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. I would be so upset. This would not be okay with me.
Peace. I'd be out of there.
I would
I'd be
out
like,
too.
I am not picking you up from the airport. Please arrange a different ride because this is not okay. Yep, you include me from the get-go in the plans. Somebody else backs out. Find someone else to fill his spot. Maybe it's one of her girlfriends so that then this other friend is not a third wheel. And then, like, I think it just makes it so much worse that she put in the effort to get to know this other friend, and clearly the other friend did not put any effort into helping her feel more comfortable. So,
There's
like,
jealousy.
it doesn't seem like she's supportive of the boyfriend's relationship with the girlfriend. I wish there were names in here. So,
It's hard to keep them all straight.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's a recipe for disaster. This is not a traveling with friends, like ideal scenario.
No.
I don't think it's going to work. What do you think?
What do you think, Matt? As the male perspective, what do you
Right.
think? Do you think you could travel with a woman and just be friends?
Could I? Yeah. Yes. Would I? No.
Exactly.
No.
Right.
Okay. So mature me,
Okay.
aged, old me. This dude is, he fucked it all up. It's done. They are 29, 28 years old, going to be in your 30s. Like, there's some issues because if they were like 21, maybe, like, whatever.
I mean,
And it
they
was-
still wouldn't have made it
but, like,
in their
I don't think
relationship,
so either.
but it would have been a more believable situation.
Yeah, it's not right. Like, you could have found other friends to, like, take other people's spots. You could have said, hey, 29 female, like, hey, so-and-so backed out. And unfortunately, like, what I have going on with my girlfriend it's actually really serious. And I value that. And I'm going to put that ahead of what we have going on because, hey, if you really are a best friend, you're going to understand. And you're not going to be a cold bitch when she comes to visit either. That could have been the situation, but it sounds like the friend had already decided that she wasn't going to try to make the effort in the first place because prior to even like meeting was like, hey, I don't feel comfortable with going and being the third wheel. It could have been a really great girls trip and that guy could have been the third wheel.
Absolutely. If she didn't have some sort of feelings towards the original poster, she would have been exactly trying to make friends with the girlfriend, trying to be like, hey, I want to meet you. I want to be your friend because I really care about your relationship with OP. But because she was jealous and was saying, nope, I don't feel comfortable being the third wheel, there's something there.
So we're saying they want to bang.
Oh, well, I don't think maybe he does, but she definitely does. And so he needs to read that. And if he really cares about his girlfriend, be like, nope, sorry, I need to choose my girlfriend. So if he's not choosing his girlfriend, then maybe there is something there on his end too.
And I mean, ultimately, how it could have gone too is if the friend was like, I don't want to be a third wheel, well, he could have arranged a very similar vacation with his girlfriend and gone to a Costa Rican beach with his lover. Like, isn't that better?
They
my
went
gosh,
to
it sounds
Copenhagen
amazing.
together. That was the compromise, right? They did.
Well,
like-
to visit to meet the
No, because
Oh, no.
the family was Hawaii. So if it was really about like going to Hawaii to visit family or whatever, then he should have brought the girlfriend, right?
You guys are close.
Oh,
okay.
They originally were going to go to Hawaii,
Yes.
but
because they had a family thing there.
because boyfriend
Yes.
had a friend's
Oh, it was a
mom
friend.
that
Oh,
lived out there.
not that
So
close
they
then.
arranged that to go there. But as a compromise, boyfriend took female on a separate trip to Copenhagen beforehand to like,
Okay.
well, you can't
Where-
go on that trip, so I'm going to take you on another trip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a
Where
lot of trips.
does this
lot of
friend live in town?
No,
we don't know that.
Right? Okay. So that's
friend
where I
does
was
not
thinking.
live in town.
But also doesn't live in Copenhagen.
Correct.
Okay. Because they had traveled to go and meet the friend.
Right.
Right.
It's all
Okay.
very convoluted. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All
Yes,
bad. It's just
a
bad.
lot.
It's
So
not a recipe for success. No.
If he's already ready to give up like a trip with his girlfriend that he's going to spend the rest of his life with, or so he has said,
Right.
this early in the relationship, because they haven't been together that long. It wasn't that long, right? She said that, or he said that.
November.
Yeah.
Right. And also he was like, well, I've already paid for it. Well, okay, what's the value of that ticket? Like, that's the value you're placing on your relationship. What, $1,000?
But
like,
he paid for
sacrifice-
Costa Rica after they had already changed plans. So he changed plans and then lost his money. So he made that initial decision to choose his friend.
So 9 months they had been together. So I'm going to ask this.
Ask
it
it.
might be going off the travel topic, but can a guy be best friends with a woman?
If he's gay. Or vice versa, maybe.
Well, the people are going to
They're going to hate me.
roast us.
Sorry. No, I think it's really hard. I think it would be really, really hard. I had a male best friend in high school, and we did a ton of stuff together, and we hung out all the time. And in the end, he tried to date me, and it just shattered, and I don't talk to him anymore. And so I think it oftentimes, and maybe we should have found these statistics, like how often one of the two has some sort of feelings towards the other that are more than just friendship.
Yeah.
So I'd venture to guess
Oh.
it's a majority.
It's a hot topic.
Yeah, but it is a hot
We're going
topic.
to come back on a different episode on that.
For
but
sure.
Okay.
Good news. There's an update,
Let's hear it.
I want to hear it.
and it is a novel.
Oh, goodness.
So I am going to
Are you going to summarize?
summarize a little bit.
All right.
This is about 2 days later.
Okay.
So after they left.
After they left.
Just 2
Yep.
days, though. So they're still on vacation.
They're still on vacation.
Okay.
I was really upset the other day when I dropped them off, and he was texting me, but I wasn't responding. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to do anything at all in the state that I was in. I waited until the next day, yesterday, and then I sent him a thought-out text, let him know that I didn't feel safe or loved in the way the trip was handled, and that I would be dropping off all of his things at his place and leaving his keys with his neighbor.
Good
He
for
called-
her.
Good for her. I know. They're like, yes.
He called, but didn't leave any messages. And then he messaged me that he didn't understand why or what was going on. The rest of the week, he called me the entire time, messaged me, but I couldn't bring myself to pick up or text back. On Thursday, I think that he finally realized that I was serious, and he asked me some questions about logistical things. I told him which neighbor I dropped his key off, etc., etc. When he got back and saw all of his things at his place, he got pretty frantic and called and left a long message. I was working that day, but I still didn't want to respond. He asked me to explain because he didn't understand what was going on. Everything was so good for so long. The next day, I sent another text message making it clear that it was over, and he got upset and sent me a bunch of voicemails that were really angry in his tone and said that he had no idea why I was upset and that he didn't accept this breakup
Totally.
because he had no say in it, and he wanted me to tell him.
He doesn't need to have a say in it. That's ridiculous. Sorry.
He wanted me
mad.
to tell him the evil story that I had made up about him to his face and why I was breaking up with him.
She dodged a bullet.
Yes. She
For
dodged a bullet.
sure. Holy
Well,
buckets.
I didn't respond to him. I remained calm, and I wrote him a letter. It's long. It's really, really long. I tried to call him, but I started crying and told him I'd just send him an email instead. And this thing is a novel.
She really pours her feelings out there, doesn't she? In a good way.
But also, she had all this communication before he left. She communicated her feelings multiple times.
Oh, and
He
look at what
chose
she says in here. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, what did you see? Go ahead.
Well, I could ask you to pick between her and me, but that's not what I want to do. So she is really mature. I feel like emotionally mature.
And I like this one. There's no need for this breakup to be mutual. I don't need your permission to break up with you.
Amen.
He did finally an update. He wrote back. He wrote an apologetic email in which he accepted responsibility for most of the things without any argument, except he denied anything that had to do with his relationship with her, making me feel uncomfortable.
Well, hopefully he learned his lesson, grow from those experiences. Hopefully he will learn not to do that in the future.
I just don't know how he could ever feel like that was right and that was okay.
I, though, think in our very younger years,
just was
Matt
gonna
and
take it there. Dang it.
Matt and I struggled with this sort of philosophy when we were like in our 20s. Because Matt, you had some close female friends, and I didn't care for them at all. And you had, you never went on trips with them that I recall, or if you did, I blocked them from my memory. Nope.
No.
But we had differences of opinion on how appropriate those relationships were when you were also in a serious relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
And we talked about this on the Toxic episode, that there was some growth that needed to happen. I don't think that we were in such different places in our lives and what we thought was acceptable to each other. Like now, like putting myself in this guy's shoes, like it's clearly not going to happen. Like if I'm looking to like start a family and I have a wife and do the thing, it's just, no, not acceptable.
They're so much older. But I also think back to your guys' situation, and I don't think on your end there was feelings between you and your girlfriends, but there was definitely feelings that your girlfriends had towards you. And I think that, again, goes back to what the problem is. And we could pick up on it. And you were oblivious to it because you were 20, 21, and you were like, I just want to be friends with everybody. And I just want to go out and have a great time. And yeah. I know.
I don't think so. I still to this day would tell you.
No.
All right.
We disagree.
Well,
We disagree. It all ended well.
Yes.
Yeah. It all ended well. Thank God.
We all ended up in the same headspace there. I also want to kind of, what I was thinking about there for a minute with this story was, how would he feel, especially with his angry reply, how would he feel if the shoe was on the other foot? Like, would he be okay with her just taking a solo vacation with another man?
Right. That is such a great way to think about this and to flip it the other direction.
I really don't think so. Matt, would you be okay with me going on a trip with one of my
Would you be
friends?
okay with Amy going on a trip with Brian?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be.
What?
Not because I think you guys would do anything, but it's just not right.
Yeah.
You know, it's just weird. Why would you do that?
That's even different though, because Brian is like very close to Matt's. So it'd have to be like somebody who is just friends with me and not friends with Matt.
Well, like here's
don't really have those
here's
people.
the
I know.
Here's the thing. It depends on how the trip is coming about. Okay, if Amy and Brian are planning a trip together, we need to talk.
We're going to go on vacation then. I don't know. Not in a weird way though.
Like that doesn't, if we had planned a trip together and my work had like been like, hey, we need you to go somewhere. And then you ended up getting violently ill or something. And I'd be like, you go, like go and do it.
They wouldn't go. I think that's the point. Like if you couldn't go and it was like the three of us, great. But then if I all of a sudden got violently ill and couldn't go too,
that would be weird.
I don't think you guys would go. I know I wouldn't go.
I disagree. Because,
I don't think so.
Because I'd be like, just go. And you would be, just go. It's totally fine. I would not have a problem. I trust Brian completely.
I do too, but I still think we wouldn't go. I think we'd count our losses and like figure out how to reschedule.
We would postpone it.
Yeah.
Once in a lifetime Adele concert.
Ooh.
Taylor Swift concert.
Oh.
Eminem and Dr. Dre headlining tour concert.
Well, let's just hope that we never have to face that scenario.
I'm right.
Okay, let's hope that we don't have to face that scenario. Okay, so I have some statistics for traveling and why people should travel, because we all love to travel together. We think it's a really great thing. We think it's important to prioritize, if at all possible. Also recognizing that for a lot of people in their lives and different times of their lives, it's not possible. Like it's expensive. It's hard to get time off of work. But if the opportunity arises and you find some really good deals that Sarah's really good at finding, because she is the travel queen, which is why we have her on this episode. There's actually science that says that you should do it and take advantage of those opportunities. So one study showed, and I feel like these are studies that I've heard of over and over and over again. But one study published in the Journal of Applied Research and Quality of Life, found that people who frequently travel reported feeling happier with their lives overall compared to those who don't travel as much. So it increases your level of happiness.
Absolutely. If I don't have a travel planned, like a trip to travel planned, which I kind of don't right now. Like we have loose plans, but we don't have anything like booked yet.
We have intentions. Plans.
And we normally travel as a group like at least twice a year. And to not have anything planned is weird. And so I feel a little down about it. I'm a little depressed about it.
We're going
to make it happen.
Okay. And then there was also a study that showed that men who don't travel at least once per year have a 20% higher risk of death and 30% higher risk of heart disease. I know.
Yeah.
It's for your heart, Matt.
It's for your heart.
You need to.
We gotta go.
We have to take that trip to Costa Rica.
I mean, Brian's older, so we have to make sure his heart's okay.
We got to keep him healthy.
We got to keep him healthy.
Yes.
It's important.
Yes.
He needs to stick around for a bit.
I agree. So, yeah, there's a lot of good reasons to actually make that effort.
That's true.
It is.
All right. Do we have another story? Are we moving on?
Good first story.
Yay! Figured it out.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Here we go. It's story 2.
All right. This one, it's going to be a short story, but I think it's going to maybe spur a story or two of just some different experiences that we've had.
Okay.
So, title is Traveling with Friends is a Bad Move. At least in my experience, nobody ever wants to do the same things. Some people sleep later than others, or seemingly all fucking day. Seems like people...
It's okay. Keep going.
It seems like people don't have the same budget, even though everyone agreed to the trip. I mean, the list goes on. It's irritating AF. I went on a trip with a group of friends a few years ago, and it was so-so, and there were many times that I was annoyed due to some of the things that I previously mentioned, and I was asked by a friend recently if I wanted to go on a trip with her. Since it had been a couple years since I did a friend trip, I agreed. Day 1, and I'm already pretty much over it because she's been sleeping since we arrived to our destination. What the fuck? I will never, ever fucking go on a trip with a friend again. It's just not worth it to be annoyed with your friends over something so trivial, such as sleep. Vacations aren't cheap, and I want to spend mine exactly how I want to fucking spend it.
Ooh, strong words.
Okay, so pause. To just tell you guys how much I love you. And we have traveled numerous times, like
Yes.
at least a handful, if not 10 times, to like in long trips, not just like a few days, like week, 10-day trips. And we do so well. I mean, there's moments, right? There's moments where you might get a little bit like, oh, someone's annoying me a little bit, but we know each other so well. And we just, I don't know what it is. We just do so well together. And that's why I love you both so much.
Oh,
amongst
we love
other
you too.
reasons, but
Yeah, we've gone to Hawaii, Costa Rica, Asheville, Florida.
multiple
few
times. Yeah.
Yeah.
But finding that group, I think it's really important to like travel with specific people that you know you work well with.
You have to have the goals that are the same. And I think the OP has nailed some of them. You know, are you there to rest and relax? Are you there to adventure? What is your budget? Are you looking to go cheap? Are you looking to go and spend money? Like, where are those two things? I think in a nutshell will make or break your trip. I went to Canada with a girl that I went to PA school with, and we had vastly different ideas on what the trip was going to look like. She didn't want to spend money at all. And I actually ended up paying her to come do things with me because I was like, I am here. I want to do things. I have a big girl job now. Like, come on, let's do stuff. And I wasn't going to do it by myself. And so it was so annoying. And I would never travel with her again.
That's weird.
Never.
That's weird that she would
Right?
accept that.
Right?
All right, Matt, you are chomping at the bit.
Yep, your turn.
You're
No.
feeling stuff. We have a similar Canada
Yes. Tell your Canada story. It's a good one.
Okay. I was going to say, like, I mean, depending on the trip, like, Yes, you need to make sure your goals are aligned. You pointed it out. And like, why are you not having these conversations beforehand? Like,
Yeah.
hey, like if we're in an Airbnb, how many nights, like, what are we thinking? Are we going to do like 2 meals in? Like, what kind of restaurants? Like, if you're not able to have open, honest communication about what you expect on the trip, it's going to go bad. You need to have all those conversations up front. Like, what adventures are we going to do? Hey,
Right.
are we going skydiving? Are we going whitewater rafting? Are we going scuba diving? Are we going parasailing?
Setting up those expectations, maybe making an itinerary. Sarah has been known to do that for the group in the past.
Just a couple times.
Yeah. And we had a trip, Amy and I, with another couple.
It wasn't me. It wasn't.
We
me.
were the best of friends with them.
And we still are. We are still friends with them. Our relationship since that trip, it did deteriorate. And it hasn't quite been the same ever since. There's been some angst, something has been looming over that relationship. And
What did we do wrong?
it was bad, and we didn't set the
I
expectations.
think it was that. Yeah, we did not set expectations. They had invited us on this trip, and I think in their mind, it was more their trip that we were coming along with, instead of it being like an equal trip together, kind of.
Right.
And then one of the individual then had just very specific expectations of like this very idealistic, we're gonna like catch fish all the time in these mountain streams in Canada, and it's gonna be lovely and wonderful, and nobody's gonna get car sick in these like winding mountain roads.
Have you seen those glasses though?
You sent
I
us
know.
those. I need them.
I need to try.
I mean, if
those.
they fucking work, I will wear them.
If
I
anybody
absolutely
knows what I'm talking about, the glasses that
like they have like
and they have
4
water in
lenses.
there.
car sickness things. Yeah,
Let us know.
I need
For
those.
real.
I need those.
For real.
So the trip did not end up being like that, and then
it went bad.
that
It went
person was a little grumpy with specifically me the whole time. Oh dear!
you got your revenge.
And Amy is like the sweetest person, you guys. As her best friend, like I say this, but I really truly mean it. Like everybody loves Amy. And for anybody to be upset with her is mind-boggling to me. It really truly is. It really is.
You're so sweet.
Well, I mean it. It's true. It's not that just me as your best friend saying that. Like it's very true.
How about sleep on vacation? They talk about that here.
I feel
Some
like
people
when we
sleep all
go, I feel like when we go on vacation as our group, and I use that as an example because it is such a beautiful thing that we have, we set expectations. We say, okay, these are kind of more our rest days, and these are more our active days, and these are the days where if you want to take a nap, take a nap, and then everybody tells really cool stories in the pool, and then you miss them. Happened.
Rookie move.
But it was okay.
Don't take a nap.
I felt a little bad, but it was okay. But
Yeah.
I feel like you set up those expectations beforehand, especially for the sleeping in. Because if you have an activity planned, you want to go for a hike, you want to go scuba diving, you want to go whitewater rafting, all things that we've done, you have to most of the time get up early for those things.
Yeah.
And so you just have to go in with that mentality. And it's bit us in the butt a couple times on vacation where we've been like, we've adventured so hard that we haven't felt like we've rested at all. And I think we've gotten smart, at least when we went to Costa Rica, which was one of our most recent trips,
Yep.
to
Best
really
trip ever.
plan those rest days. And if somebody is looking to only do that, well, then maybe they don't go on the adventures. And then the rest of us would just go and do our own thing.
Or plan a different trip if like the trip
Right.
is supposed to be like focused on adventure, which that's really what our goal was for Costa Rica. We were celebrating Krista's 40th birthday, and like I feel like there's such a difference in your 20s when you're going on vacation and your 30s, 40s when you're going on vacation. You're just in different periods of life. Like now that I am a little bit older, I find myself like wanting to try these new experiences and these new cultures so much more, and wanting to like get out there and really push myself, like looking for new experiences and new adventures versus like that wasn't something that I was really focused on in my 20s. I have a theory on that. Okay.
Let's hear it.
So my theory is in your 20s, you're still experiencing so many new things in life. So you're meeting new people all the time. Your like day to day in the world is still pretty like fresh with new experiences. And then in your 30s, you're usually in the same job that you've had for a while. You're maybe in a same routine. Like if you have kids, those kids are on a routine. You're doing the same things over and over and over again. And there aren't a whole lot of opportunities to meet new people, to do those new things in your day-to-day life. So I think that's why traveling for me is so much more exciting. And that's why I search out those activities and those adventures and the zip lining and Tarzan swing.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Swinging bridges. I hate heights. You guys.
Oh my
hate
goodness.
heights.
If you guys could see the videos and the pictures, maybe Matt, you might have to post some.
No.
Yes.
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 Like crying before
Good
this
idea.
Tarzan. No, that's a terrible idea.
They're so good. They're so good.
Done.
So still, anyway, it's an opportunity and a time to do it, to take those adventures.
I would say our whole goal of Costa Rica was to do things that scared us. And I think that plays right into your point. Like we were going there to do things that we wouldn't do on our everyday basis. We were hitting our 40s or close to our 40s and feeling like we wanted to push the limit on what made us feel safe and comfortable and really enjoy doing those things with the people that we loved most. That's what I think is the most important thing about travel. For me anyways, it really is.
I agree. I agree with all those things. And I'm just going to throw this out there. Like, depending on the trip, you can tailor the group that you go with.
Yes.
Like, it's okay to not travel with some of your friends and bring those friends with on other trips. And
Yes, absolutely.
it all depends on the goals, right? If your goals aren't aligned, it's not going to go well. But let's see what the people said.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, man, we just got off a 7-hour flight and all I wanted to do was sleep. But my friend is like, oh, let's go somewhere. And what the hell? We just got to the hotel. And ultimately, we have different taste palettes and it's super annoying.
Shoot.
We don't like to eat anywhere together. It sucks. That's so funny because I'm having the opposite experience. I'm the one that wants to go out and my friend wants to sleep. What the hell? Agree and disagree. If you have a common goal and it's set out in advance, it can be fun. And you'll always need to compromise if you ever plan to have a significant other or kids. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, and compromising on trips is important too.
It is.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not prepared to do anything before 10 a.m. I'm on vacation. Don't rush me.
Well, we have those vacations too.
Yes.
I mean, we just went to Arizona and literally all we did the entire trip was sit by my sister's pool. She lives in Arizona and read books. Amy read a book twice.
It was a fabulous girls trip.
Fabulous girls trip. Minus I got sick, but we still pushed. We pushed through it. But it was great.
You were a trooper.
We like literally sat out for probably 8 to 10 hours every day.
A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Stop.
Read it. Read it.
They're
This
obsessed.
series is so good.
So good.
I might have had some wine while I was sitting by the pool reading my book. And that is why I have read the first and second book not once, but twice. Also gives you a really different perspective when you go back and read it the second time. You won't be disappointed. Read
Do
it.
it. I'm going to go back now just because she said to go back.
I know.
I'm going to.
I've enjoyed
I got to
it.
finish the other series first, but then I will.
Yeah. I've read 3 of the 5 books in that series.
Sarah J. Maas, read all of them. I'm in her next series.
So good. So good. Anyway, so
Sidetrack.
Yes. Different kinds of adventures,
Plan
different
it
kind
out.
of vacations. Talk about if it's going to be a relaxing vacation versus a more active vacation, and probably pick the people that you go with to align with those goals. I think that's how you have a recipe for success. And then compromise and know that you're going to be doing some things that maybe you wouldn't normally do. And a lot of times that's okay, getting you out of your comfort zone, and vice versa. There's got to be a little bit of give and take both directions. So, for example, like when we went to Mexico when we were 20.
She's going to tell the story. I was wondering if it was going to come up.
So Sarah and I went on a girls' trip to Mexico. This is one of my favorite Sarah memories of all time. Love it. Okay. So we went with a group of girls. There's probably 5 of us, right? And we flew into Puerto Vallarta and we were staying at an Airbnb.
A gorgeous Airbnb
it was really
that we
nice.
found. It was amazing.
It was really cool. And so it wasn't like a resort or anything. So we were looking for activities for the entire group to do together. And so one of the activities that the majority of the group wanted to do was horseback riding, a horseback riding tour, like up to a waterfall and whatever. And so I always loved horses growing up, and Sarah knew this about me, and the rest of the girls really wanted to go. And I knew that Sarah did not like horses at all. And so I was like, I don't have to go. We don't have to go. I'll stay back with you, Sarah. The rest of the girls, they can go on their little horseback riding trip. But Sarah, being the very good friend, was like, no, Amy, it's fine. I'll go. Like, we'll go. I know that you love this kind of stuff. So we'll go. We'll both go. So we make it to the ranch. And there's a big group of us, not just us girls, but like probably 30 people or something. And the guides go and they grab one of the first horses, they say their little spiel, and then they are ready to mount up. And the one guide goes and he points directly to Sarah.
My worst nightmare.
As being the very first one to mount this horse. And it is instant waterworks. She just starts bawling, like ugly, crying, bawling, makeup smearing, like turns around, does not get on this horse, like gasping for air.
I don't think I
crying.
realized how afraid of horses I was until that exact moment.
Turns out you've got a phobia.
A huge phobia, you guys. Not just a little phobia, a big phobia.
So everybody, they kind of ignore her a little bit, get everybody else on the horses, finally get Sarah on the horse. And she has this death grip on the saddle horn, and she can't even like hold on to her reins. That like the guide on his horse is holding on to her horse's reins, and I'm like on a horse behind her and watching her ride off on the trail. Like these are the pokiest, slowest little like one after the other trail horses that you've ever seen. But she's like going like just crying the entire way to this beautiful waterfall. Meanwhile, I'm trading my horse that was too pokey for like a faster like guide's horse. Anyway, we get back. And we get back on the travel bus, and on the way home, there was this group of guys about our age in their young 20s from New York, and they go on the intercom of the bus, and they go, Sarah, did it hurt when you fell from heaven? And I was like, oh my God, only Sarah,
Damsel in distress,
Damsel in distress can still, pick up guys when she is ugly crying on top of a horse.
I mean, I had no idea until that moment. I really didn't how bad it was.
You were a trooper.
My mom said I got like almost bit by a horse when I was a kid. She thinks that's where it stems from. But I hate horses. Yeah. I hate large mammals, in fact. Anything large. That's a mammal.
The cows. We walked by a cow in Costa Rica and you almost lost it.
Well, because Matt stopped right in front of me, right next to the cow. I think that was one of the moments where like we could have had an issue traveling because I swore and I yelled at you. But you loved me enough to know that it was my phobia. I did.
Barely. I don't listen to you when you're no listen.
This is why we love each other so much.
And giving people
don't even
benefit of
listen
the
to me.
doubt.
Good story.
Good story. See?
Ready?
Good thing you got me.
All right. All right.
Next story.
Next story. You ready? Mm-hmm. This is going to strike a chord.
Okay. I took a peek. I need to not look.
My postpartum wife wants to leave our baby to go on a vacation to Europe for a month, and I don't agree with her. My wife, 30 female, and I, 32 male, have been together for 4 years and currently have a 16-month-old daughter. We both split work 50-50, and I acknowledge how it is more physically challenging for her with the postpartum phase and constant, regressive now, breastfeeding. Our daughter cluster feeds and doesn't like the bottle very much, so that's that. I am also very pro-therapy, so regardless of any evaluations, I encouraged her to attend a few sessions, and she and her therapist both agree that she doesn't have postpartum depression. I am letting everyone know this because I really want to be able to find a way to talk sense into her without putting all of it on depression.
Anyway,
my wife and I have had a huge fight over something. She says that she is tired from feeling like a mom and wants to take a vacation for 4 weeks with her friend who is based in Europe. Her reasoning for going for 4 weeks is that she gets to earn it after childbirth and 1.5 years of being a mom. She also says she has her own savings and how she always dreamt of exploring Europe. So this is her chance and she wants her identity back.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is the friend male or female?
TBD. Hold your horses.
okay.
Well, you looked like you needed questions. That was the question.
this is a 16-month-old.
16.
And she's
Okay.
planning this trip, so the baby's probably going to be even older by the time she takes this trip.
We don't
know that yet.
But yeah, I mean, they don't usually
month.
a month-long vacation requires a little bit of planning.
I disagreed with her, and I told her that her priorities are bound to change and she cannot expect to have her single life back. I would happily step up and take on a share of childcare if she wanted to do a weekend trip or a spa day and would fully support that. Apparently, that's not enough for her. I told her if she wants to really do something about her savings, it would be great if we could do something maybe as a couple or a family together because I also deserve a break as much as she does. I told her how it's selfish she is choosing to spend her savings entirely on herself when I nearly exhausted all of my personal savings on large family expenses. I told her I can't fathom the idea of a mom wanting to be away from her toddler for nearly a month and almost shamed her for it. May make me the asshole, but emotions were high and I was angry. And it was making things difficult for me because I realistically would have had to exhaust my PTO and be both mom and dad to our baby. I told her I cannot stay in a relationship with someone who cannot compromise with me on this. She started crying and told me she wants to feel like herself again, and I told her she can definitely do something this weekend as well, but her propositions are highly unrealistic. It seems that she doesn't want to accept things as they are. I suggested maybe she could get some therapy and got told I won't accept the unacceptable and how I was condescending her into therapy. Can someone please share what I should say to her? Am I the asshole?
Oh.
I feel like there's so much stuff to unpack in this one. I feel like I really, really relate to the mom being like, I've lost myself in motherhood because I had really similar feelings after having Eloise because it becomes all you do. It's all encompassing, especially if you're breastfeeding and it sounds like that was part of her journey too. That can be really, really difficult. And aside, even if it's easy, it's always something then that you are required to do. You can't just like stop breastfeeding because like you want a weekend off or something. You need to pump then. It's a job because if you don't, you will have excruciating pain. It's a medical thing that needs to happen. So there is a real loss of freedom that comes with being a mother, especially a breastfeeding mother.
Your body is not your own anymore.
It's not.
It's not. You just feel like your body is everybody else's.
Yes. And so, and not just like your child's, you're still in a relationship with your partner and trying to fulfill those sort of expectations and
desires.
right?
Hopefully you still have those desires too.
Right. And so I think that that's a real thing as far as like losing your identity and who you were prior to having kids and who you were after having kids. Like perhaps you were somebody who traveled all the time before you had a child and you haven't traveled at all since. Traveling while you're pumping is really difficult, or with your child is really difficult. And so maybe you haven't done that. And so for me, I think that her taking more of a break is really, really legit. I don't
healthy.
think, and very healthy. And I do not think that just a weekend or a spa day is like good enough. Like that's not enough for you to kind of reclaim yourself and feel more of yourself again.
A month is a long time.
I also agree. A month is a long time.
I think that's where I get the hiccup, because I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
And I breastfed twins for like 18 months. So for a long time, my body, I mean, I still feel like my body's not mine. And my girls are 8 because they always want to be on top of me and sitting by me. But even back then in the throes of it, like you really, that time alone and to feel yourself again is so important. It really is. And to be able to reconnect with your friends and do things that make you feel like a human still is so important. But a month?
Yeah. A person with interests. Yeah. I would see if there's some sort of room for compromise in there. Could you go, even for my maximum probably would be 2 weeks. I think that is still a little bit longer, but still reasonable. You and I, when Eloise, was it Eloise or Emmett? I think I took a trip with both kids. We went on girls' trips, one to Florida and one to California.
Yeah.
And that was even difficult because you're pumping the whole time and gosh, that hurts.
And then the airport's not always super nice about it too.
Right. And so I think we were gone for like 5 to 7 days or something. And that was rejuvenating to be with friends, doing activities that was not parenting and not motherhood, which especially in the younger years are so enthralled with it. I hate that he shamed her for this and is just like, this is how you shouldn't be like this. I hate that.
I do too. And that he was like, you need to go to therapy, which I think therapy's great. And everybody could use therapy in their life. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's not the answer to everything either. Like sometimes it is just that time away and to refine yourself and be able to spend those quality moments with yourself or other people in your life that aren't your immediate family. And sometimes I think that can be hard for a significant other to hear.
And so he proposed the solution of like doing a family trip.
That doesn't fix the problem.
It doesn't, especially because then you're still parenting while you're on this vacation. Perhaps if maybe a couple's trip, maybe just the two of them, if they had like grandparents that were watching the little one, I think that would be reasonable. Yeah, when you first read the title, I was also like, ugh, infant, like brand new baby. I was thinking
baby too.
I was thinking like just gave birth. Like this baby is 3 months old and she wants to leave for a month. I think that's not really cool. But 16 months or older, I assume, because again, you got to plan the trip. So it's probably going to be at least a few months older than 16 months by the time that this trip happens. I don't think it's unreasonable to step away at that time for a little bit.
Oh, I don't think so either.
I don't think it's unreasonable to step away. 4 weeks, you fucking nuts.
I'm like, ooh.
Like,
I, as a parent, even now with my girls being 8, could not imagine. Like when we're gone, it's crazy because we get so excited to go on vacation with our friends and we're like, yes. And then the instant we're gone, we're like, my mom is watching them and I'm like, Mom, send me pictures. What are you guys doing? What are you up to? Send me pictures. I want to see them. I want to know what they're doing because they're your kids and you love them and you want to be involved and know what's going on with them. So the thought of not being around them, even at this stage for a month, is like asinine. I couldn't do it.
I think it's super selfish. A month is even 2 weeks. Like that's a long time. We've never been gone for 14 days. 13, which I think
13 is our longest.
we could say, and that was because one, our flight got
We had some issues.
left without us.
Yeah.
But I would say like at day 10, it's like, yeah, I miss my kids. Like, I don't know, 2 weeks. That's like, I couldn't imagine leaving my kids right now for over a month. Even like, and I'm not burnt out right now either. Like, even if I was burnt out, I wouldn't. You miss out so much, especially in those younger years. Like,
Especially
a month from 16 or 18 months, whatever this child is, to 19 months. Like, there's a lot you're missing there. And I don't know.
walking, running, starting to talk.
So-
I mean, that's all happening, right?
So there might, I mean, maybe she is totally burnt out though. And she's like, I just need a break. And this is the opportunity. And this is like, and maybe she's so far in a hole that she can't imagine having the feelings of missing that child. I think that it will come like once she is on the trip. Like, I think that she would also find that that's also a difficulty. Like, being away is also a difficulty, right? Want to point out, though, also that there are plenty of situations where parents do have to leave and they do it and they leave one parent at home for extended periods of time. Case in point, our friend who her husband was deployed like a month after she gave birth and was deployed for 6 months or 8 months or so. And she was single parenting their 2 babies at home the entire time.
So
It's not a vacation. It's something that you have to do, but it's
I don't think that was probably easy for him to do. I don't
Right.
think it was something that he was
I
like,
don't think
oh,
so.
yay, I
that's
get to
something
go
he
away.
had to do.
Right.
But I have a point, but I'm going to read the update
oh, okay.
Let's hear
and
it.
then we'll come back.
Let's hear it.
So my wife and I have pretty much been awake and talking all night long. I have initiated the conversation basically, and it was, for the most part, quickly resolved. When I made the above posts, I had already began planning how I would like to approach the situation. I thought I might be crazy or being an awful partner to her for disagreeing with her choices. Thank you for everyone who reassured me that her expectations indeed sounded unrealistic, and I was able to register a lot of good advice. I sat my wife down, told her I didn't feel comfortable, told her that I feel this wouldn't be a good situation for our daughter or our marriage, and it would also ruin my PTO. So ultimately, I gave her the ultimatum that if she chooses to go, she may come home to a daughter, but not a welcoming husband, and that it will permanently change our relationship, and I might not be interested in continuing that relationship with someone who can so easily pawn off her duties.
Yikes.
Before anyone scolds me, let me tell you, I've tried my best to be empathetic to her situation. I have offered compromises, but she won't listen, and she continues to reject therapy. At this point, she's growing very anxious to the point she has started crying. I've calmed her down and told her that we need to fix whatever issues that she has.
Why is it
What?
all
Why is
on
it her?
her? Why
Oh my
is
God,
it
I
all
know.
on-
I'm like, why? Why?
I feel like
Okay.
he's not pulling his weight. He talks about her duties as a mother.
I would like to hear her input.
Yes, I agree.
So it's glaringly obvious that she needs a break too. And for that, first, she's now going to cut off our toddler from breastfeeding to give her the first step in feeling like herself.
And that is okay.
that is also okay.
Secondly, she has agreed to travel domestically and compromise on traveling for no more than 12 to 14 days,
Okay.
which is a condition that I had provided earlier in the story. And I also won't use my own funds to support this. I hadn't mentioned what purchase I made with my savings in my original post, but it was a van for our family. And
the
this-
mom van.
and I'm going to read it because it's going to bring up a point. Lastly, she needs to get into therapy for a more comprehensive evaluation for postpartum depression.
It's not that I don't agree, but like, is it really all that we need to unpack here? I don't think so.
I also just really want to know, like, is this a 50-50 split of responsibilities? I just feel in my gut like she is doing 90% of the parenting. And like the way that he is talking about how her duties and so forth. And I also really, really hope that she feels good about stopping breastfeeding and that she doesn't feel like forced into it, or, you know, he's not saying, well, you're still breastfeeding and that's the problem and you need to stop. Like, and she's like, fine, I will stop. If like, I hope it's not that.
Right.
I hope she has been thinking about it and that's a desire that she has. If so, yeah, absolutely. 100% do that for yourself, girlfriend.
What's the average age to let a child breastfeed for?
Average?
Or like what is recommended?
They recommend trying for, well, you do kids more than I do. I don't do kids at all, but
Trying
a year,
for a
right?
year.
By do kids,
A year.
you mean in the
medicine.
medical field?
In medicine.
Right. I think that the average is much, much less.
Much
like,
less.
Like a few months. I don't have the statistics.
They say
on
any
that.
is better than none, and they recommend up to a year if you can, but any is better than none.
But then the WHO recommends 2 years.
Oh.
World Health Organization.
Yeah, because of the different third world populations that struggle with clean water and other things. I think there's a lot of other things that play a role in that recommendation.
Yeah. And so
Okay.
a lot of
Yeah.
times, like that was always my goal. And at that point, they are really, the majority of their nutrition is food and, you know, cow's milk and so forth. And so it's just a little bit of breast milk generally at that point. But still really, really worthwhile as far as antibodies and protecting against illnesses and so forth. It's still liquid gold. It still helps.
Liquid gold.
Yeah.
So I have two things. Is one, I wouldn't recommend to my wife, like, hey, you need to go to therapy, especially if she's rejecting it continuously. If there is actually an issue, maybe the right tactic is like, hey, maybe we should go to therapy together. Maybe we should work on this.
He takes no ownership in this
Yes.
ever.
Involve himself in that situation. And two, this story, and I recently heard another story that Two Hot Takes read, where a mom left for 7 weeks.
Holy bucket.
And
That's a long time.
that's a long time. I'm going to tell you this. I would be fucking irate.
Okay, if my husband left me,
Right.
even for 4 weeks, I'd be
I'd-
sorry. Whoops, I'm done.
I'd be pissed.
I'd be like, nope.
There'd be some serious, like, what is actually wrong with our relationship? But I don't know if I would, I don't know if I would leave or walk away. I'd be like, I don't know that.
I think I'd be done.
Oof.
I really do. I mean, like that just shows a total disregard, especially if you didn't come to that agreement together, a total disregard for your family. And I get that sometimes if there's a mental health reason or whatever reason that you have to go, there are those times. But then most of the time your significant other hopefully is supportive of you, right? But if you don't come to that agreement together and you leave for that amount of time, that's just saying like kind of fuck you to your relationship and your family, in my opinion. It's a strong opinion, maybe.
No, you've already changed my opinion. I'm with you.
Right.
Well,
I mean, it has to be an agreement.
Yeah, you have to come to it together.
Down
You have to
with
be a
that.
team, but you also have to take care of your partner. I don't. It just doesn't seem like he's being at all supportive of all the efforts that she's doing. Oh, and I think it's coming to me that the actual breastfeeding official recommendation for how long is as long as basically the mom wants to and is comfortable doing it.
Yep.
So, yep, whether that is as short or as long.
Do it.
Yep.
don't be selfish, people. Think of your partner.
That's right. And your family, the whole family.
Good story.
Good story. Yay. Next story.
All right, here we go. They're so good. It's like we're on vacation. Am I the asshole for bringing my toddler on a group trip, even though it made my friend upset?
Probably. I have
Whoa.
stories. I have so many stories.
Traveling with kids. That's good. Here we go.
Okay.
All right. Me, 29 male, and my wife, Angie, 27 female, have a son, Sam. He turned 2 this week. We're part of a friend group made up of 7 people, including us. There's one more couple in this group. The other 3 are Zoe, Greg, and Tim. Zoe's a 32 female, Greg, 41 male, and Tim, 30. Zoe doesn't like kids. She openly avoids them whenever she can. I've always known about this and have no problem with it. There have, however, been occasions in which she seemed to take it a bit too far. The friend group lives all over the country now, and most of us only get together once or twice a year. This January, we all decided to take a 5-day trip to Greg's beach house. It's in a different state, and it's about a 2-hour flight away. Both Greg and Tim have children. Greg made sure to invite us over while his kid would be with his ex. But Tim is a single father and couldn't afford to leave his daughter with a babysitter for 5 days. Due to that, it was decided that both Tim's daughter and Sam were welcome on the trip. Angie and I offered to leave Sam with my mother-in-law, but the whole group, including Zoe, said it was fine. All of these decisions were made 2 months in advance.
Good planning, folks.
Way to go.
2 days prior to the trip, Tim informed us that his daughter had chickenpox.
Oh, no.
And he had to cancel their tickets to stay with her.
Immunizations, you guys.
Get him.
At that, Zoe called Angie and said, "Guess your mom will have a busy week." My mother-in-law was traveling and wouldn't be back for another week. We had no other babysitting options available or time to find one, so we told Zoe we will still be bringing Sam with us. Zoe protested, saying that she was only okay with having kids around because she knew Tim had no other choice, and we had no excuse to bring Sam now that Tim's daughter wasn't coming anymore. But we held our ground. The others, they took our side. During the trip, Angie and I made efforts to help Zoe avoid Sam as much as possible. This ended up making our own trip underwhelming, as we were spending a lot of time apart and didn't get to see our friends as much as we wanted to. But it worked. Zoe and Sam were in the same room for a total of 4 times, including both our arrival and departure from Greg's house. In spite of that, she insists that we ruined her trip by bringing him, and that it was selfish for us to not consider her feelings about children after Tim dropped out. Zoe hasn't spoken to us since we've flown back home. This week, she unfollowed Angie on Instagram 10 minutes after she made a post for Sam's 2nd birthday. No. Seems a little bit bitter still. Angie has been feeling pretty guilty about this. I tried to reassure her that we were in the right and had no other option, and it was unreasonable for Zoe to ask us to change our plans last minute like that. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't consider we might be in the wrong. Am I the asshole?
I've changed my mind.
Oh. Do tell.
No, he's not the asshole.
No. Oh, did you originally think he was?
Yes, because he read the title and he said, "Am I the asshole for bringing my toddler on a vacation?"
Oh, right. Yes,
And I said,
agree. Okay.
Yep, you probably are. And now I've changed my mind. Nope, Zoe needs to...
Bitches.
Zoe is being unreasonable.
Totally. Wasn't there another kid too? I thought there was 4 kids. Did I miss something?
Nope.
Thought Tim had a kid, and then the other guy I thought had a kid too that was coming.
Actually, Greg got rid of his kids with the ex. Tim was single and
got you.
So there were going to be 2 kids.
There was
they were
another
probably
kid,
going to
but he
play
got rid of
together.
them.
Yeah, but got chickenpox. Bummer.
Chickenpox. That is a big bummer.
yeah.
And yeah, you don't want to travel with a kid with chickenpox. So that kid had to stay home. And last minute, like, you cannot find childcare for those kind of trips last minute.
No.
That needs to be something that is planned way in advance. So it's unreasonable for Zoe to assume that they would find childcare for their kid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I get like not liking kids. There are people out there that don't want to be around kids, but it sounds like they did a really good job at keeping them apart. And so to her point of being upset and being so selfish and saying that you ruined my vacation, like, also, if you feel like they're ruining your vacation, you're an adult. Take it upon yourself. Go to a coffee shop. Go to a beach. Go do something else. You don't need to stay. You're an adult.
Or you don't need to be with the group the whole time.
No.
And she had agreed originally that kids were fine with being there. So, yeah, I think she's being completely unreasonable.
Now, if you bring kids on a vacation that wasn't planned, that's a whole other story.
Yes.
You got a story?
I have a story.
What's your story?
Let's hear it.
So it's more of like not a big trip story.
Okay.
But it's more of like a local story. Like we had planned to go kayaking or canoeing. I guess it was more canoeing than kayaking with another couple. And we had our girls. Our girls were actually older than their child. And we were like, let's go. We haven't hung out as just a couple in a long time. And like, let's do this thing and spend all day. And we found somebody to come and take care of our girls, and they didn't. And they brought their child with them in a canoe and their dog. And so it was a whole thing. And the whole time we were canoeing down this river in northern Wisconsin, they were bitching at each other. Bitching the whole time. They didn't want to have cocktails. They didn't want to drink. Like that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to relax, let loose a little bit. And we couldn't because there was a freaking 2-year-old with us. And so I get that. But again, it goes back to what we've said before about planning.
Expectations.
Being an adult.
Zoe's 32 years old. Like, come on, Peter Pan, grow up. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Your friends are going to have kids eventually.
You're on a 4 or 5 day trip is what I believe it was, on a beach in, I'm just going to say they're in Florida. Come on.
Move your chair a little ways down the beach. You'll be fine.
Seriously.
Grab
Have
a book.
another cocktail.
Have another cocktail. That's what I would do.
When they're talking about adult things to do, what? Drink? You can still drink and be around kids. And
You're
do
not
the
responsible
deal.
for those kids.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Zoe's a bitch.
I agree.
Terrible.
And she's not a good friend.
No.
I wouldn't feel guilty. I'd be glad she unfollowed me on Instagram. Cut that bitch out.
And let's maybe talk a little bit about friendship and the fact that like having friends that are in the same spot that you are in life, I think sometimes can really build a stronger base because you understand what each other is going through and you understand each other so much more. And then you can let your kids run wild in the yard and drink wine. I mean, that's the best part about it. And so there are times when friendships, it's okay to let friendships go. And maybe she's not interested in being in your new life. And that's okay. It's okay.
Or maybe even just taking a pause during these younger years. And you can always return to each other when your kids are more independent and your lifestyles match up a little bit more. That's also okay too. But if it seems like Zoe has decided that she's just not going to stick around or invest any of herself into that friendship. So good riddance.
Which is also okay. I mean, that's okay for her to make that decision.
That is also true.
It is also true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like those takes. Here's some comments.
Okay. Yes.
Overall, not the asshole. Disliking kids is one thing, but people who make it their whole personality are so exhausting and make life needlessly difficult for parents. Zoe is so extra about her dislike for kids. If she wanted to minimize her time with kids on the trip, she should have taken you up on your offer to leave your son with your brother-in-law. She's blaming you because she said it was fine to bring your son. But she had the chance to say no and pass on it. She's pretty delusional if she thinks that 2 days before a trip starts is enough time to find someone
It's never enough time.
to take care of your child for almost a week.
Isn't enough.
Right.
Or maybe she's just so ignorant about kids that she really thinks they're like cats and can be left at home with food on the floor.
We joke about this often.
OP responded, well, knowing Zoe, who once suggested Tim call an Uber for his then 6-year-old, I think it's the latter.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Somebody did comment, and I'm going to point this out for you guys. Is Tim's daughter vaccinated for chickenpox?
Thank you.
Tim's daughter is, in fact, vaccinated.
Oh.
She had a breakthrough chickenpox case.
Wow.
It was a very mild
I
case.
it was mild.
Oh, probably only a few spots.
Bad enough that she couldn't travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still
didn't.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's another update, but it basically is just outlining previous relationships between the group. Basically, they have spoken with Zoe since then, and they have wished her well. And it's best that they go their separate ways. She responded by calling my wife the
No. Don't say it.
I almost did say
Don't
it.
say it.
Rhymes with punt.
Don't. It rhymes with
no.
punt. Don't say it. You're lucky. Oh my God.
Look at
What
you, like
a
reading over his shoulder.
Okay, I have a whole new, like, nope. She is so far gone. So far gone. You cut her out of your life at this point.
If you really
And you
want
are
to,
done.
if you really want to punch the point home, that word of God just
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't
Slams
do
the
it. Don't do
door.
it. Don't do it.
Don't
do it.
She's
Don't do
done. She is done. And I think that is a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That is
Okay.
a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Do you
All
have
right,
a
I
point?
got,
That's a wrap.
We
That's
got
a wrap.
one more.
Good story.
Woo!
Cheers. Oh, we got a cheers.
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 Okay.
Yeah, good story.
Good story.
Good story.
Good story.
So moving on.
All right.
Moving on.
Before we get to the last
Before
story,
we get to the last story, we need to talk about tips. So clearly, I asked ChatGPT and
Clearly.
was like, "Hey, what are your tips for traveling with friends?" And then we're going to see if we agree with the
Yes.
artificial intelligence.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, first thing is communicate openly and set expectations before the trip.
I think
Ding,
we've
ding,
already,
ding.
I think
We've already talked about that.
Talked about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2, plan together, but allow for flexibility.
Ding, ding, ding.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and we've gone on trips where we've had other people that are like, "Hey, we don't want to do that, or we're going to find something else to do while you guys go and do this," and that's totally fine. You guys can go. You can do your separate things. One group wants to go whitewater rafting. The other group wants to go hike or
Coffee shop or
coffee shop,
art gallery
breakfast,
or
art gallery.
Yep. And we've split boy
Yeah.
girls before. The boys wanted to go do something.
Yep.
The girls
Yeah.
have wanted to go do something. Yeah, absolutely. Great.
All right. Number 3, discuss budget and spending habits up front.
Agreed.
think we
which
do that.
Which we already talked about because as our group, we already got that figured out, right?
Yeah,
Like, we
we're in
know
similar spots.
we're in
It's
similar
easier
spots.
when you're all in similar positions in life.
We do talk about that when we've when we went to the Keys. That was very much like, hey, how many days are we planning on going out to eat versus staying in? First
Getting
day,
groceries.
we hit up the grocery store. We buy 36 eggs.
We plan our meals out and we are like, we're going to, do this many meals in. We're going to go out for this many meals and kind of plan it out. And
Right.
again, there's flexibility in that, but I think that it makes everybody then kind of can.
And we've had
Get the budget from that.
designated nights where you're making something, you're
Yep.
making something.
We try to pick a night, a couple.
guys are
at
grilling.
least.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think we do a really good job doing is trying to plan our excursions. And so we will use different, sites on the internet. Viator is a big one that I like to call out just because Viator is everywhere in the entire world. So I've used it in Europe.
Yeah.
I've used it, in South America. We went to Costa Rica.
So what is Viator for people who don't know?
It's a website or an app. You can do it either way, and they basically have all the tours that you can find, and you can find tours that are actually through the companies, which are maybe a little bit cheaper. But Viator has everybody in one spot, which I think is super, super nice, and they have different safety nets in place if there's ever any issues. So I've used it in Europe. I've used it in Iceland. I've used it when we went to Costa Rica. We used it when we went to Hawaii. We've used it everywhere. And
So it's kind of like Airbnb, but for adventures.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've used Airbnb experiences too, which shout out to them. They do a good job as well. But Viator is just so much more all encompassing. And I think it's a great way to then, even before you leave, look for those activities that you want to do as a group and pick those out. And what are the costs of those things? And then most of them are 24 hours beforehand cancellation. So if there is something that comes up, you still have that flexibility. But I've loved using Viator. I've used them quite a bit. And so I think that's a really great way to pre-plan for those things and know what those expenses are going to be coming up
And
before the trip.
pre-planning the budget.
Yep, exactly.
You can even pay for it ahead
Exactly.
of time, so you don't have to worry about it when you're on vacation.
Exactly. Months ahead of time if you really
Yes.
want to help kind of split those costs up.
So then just talking about budget, then we have to talk about the app that we use all the
yes,
time for
yes.
budget. This is probably the best tip ever for any sort of group excursion, is using the app Splitwise. We are not sponsored, but
We are
we'd like
not.
to be.
Love to be.
Splitwise has been the best app ever, and we've been using this for years now for our vacations, for even dinners, where you're going out and everybody's getting roughly a similar expense meal, and you know, everybody's sharing the bottle of wine or something. You pay with one card on one bill, and then you can go back to this app and basically document who paid for what and how you're going to split it up in the group. And so if you do that for everything on the trip, it keeps track of those expenses. And at the end, you can say, okay, well, I owe Sarah this much money, or Sarah owes Krista this much money. And it just makes it really simple.
Right.
It does. And I've used it on bachelor parties where you have a lot of people that are buying rounds. And it's like, okay, at this bar, one person puts their credit card out and okay, it's, I mean, round after round after round, and trying to divvy that up after the fact. Well, oh, I got 2 rounds, and oh, Al got 5 rounds, and oh, Tim got 7 rounds. It's like, okay, how do you go about splitting that up amongst?
It's a lot of alcohol.
It's
7
a
rounds.
lot of alcohol.
Well, Nashville got crazy. Okay, well, that was interesting, but we had a good time. But it was
just
super
put it on the
easy
Splitwise.
to, one person pays for everything the whole trip if they can do that, and then at the end of the day, it's all right. I owe $700 or $800 for
Because as long as one person
All
has
right.
it in the group,
then you're good. Then you're good.
Splitwise.
Okay.
Splitwise. Get Splitwise. It's great. Move on.
Next
one.
tip.
Yep.
Delegate responsibilities and tasks.
Well, that's why we have Sarah.
I know.
Matt's
Or you
really
just-
good about helping too. And so is Krista. We do a pretty good job.
But not me.
No,
No, not as much.
You know, I help in other ways. I'm very supportive.
You are.
I'm flexible.
You
and
give me
happy
your
to go
credit
with the
card.
flow. And you bounce ideas off me, and
I do.
give you my
do.
2 cents.
I do.
next tip.
It's,
Sarah is the trip planner, and
I like to plan.
show up.
Amy sometimes when we go on trips doesn't even know where we're going.
She doesn't even know what ocean we're on sometimes.
One of my favorite
Geography
Amy. One
is
of
not my strong
favorite.
suit.
One of my favorite Amy stories. I'm going to tell this story.
Oh no.
Is we are both PAs, and there's a national conference for PAs, and it was in New Orleans. And I was like, oh, I've been in New Orleans before. I wasn't really feeling it. And Amy was like, but Sarah, I really want to go to the East Coast. And I was like, okay. And I was like, Amy,
Better pick
New
a
Orleans is
different
not in on the East Coast. And she was like, oh. And I'm like, no, not even close.
So then I pulled up a map.
But we still went and we had a fabulous time.
was
We
great.
had the greatest place. We had the best time. But I love you. I love you so much.
Next tip.
Next tip.
That's not the only time that's happened.
Not the only time. Bamf.
Respect each other's personal space and alone time.
We always make sure we all have our own bedrooms, and we try really hard to find as many bathrooms as we can. Sometimes we share, but we're really good about sharing. And so we're okay with that. But having your own space is important.
Yes.
Bedrooms for sure.
Be mindful of each other's preferences and interests when planning activities.
Yep.
Plan it out. Yep.
No horseback riding.
No horseback riding. Matt is also allergic to horses. So he is in my boat.
Sarah
Interesting.
and Matt will go to the bar while the rest of us go horseback riding.
We'll
Yeah.
get drunk.
Okay. Have a contingency plan for conflicts or emergencies.
Oh, we haven't done that.
Okay.
What else they got?
Practice patience and compromise.
Okay. Yep.
I'm the least patient person. We
you
don't
travel
struggle
with-
with that.
Amy and Krista, who
We
are
are the most patient people.
pretty patient. So
That's probably why it works.
We bring our strengths.
We do. We do.
You plan. We're just patient. It's all right.
It's okay.
Take breaks to recharge and avoid burnout.
Yep. Talked about that.
Yep. But also what I think is nice to point out, like what we planned really well for Costa Rica was we did tons of adventuring at the front end, and then the back end of the trip, like the first few days we did hiking and waterfalls and whitewater rafting and so on and so
Zip
on and so on.
lines.
Fishing,
all
All
the
of,
scuba
the
diving.
all of the
Yeah,
activities.
yeah.
And then the last half of the trip, we scheduled in like pool days and beach days and the relaxing stuff. So yes, take breaks.
Yep.
Okay, last one that artificial intelligence recommends is focus on creating shared experiences and memories rather than perfection.
Yes.
So don't bring like this rigid expectation of what this trip is going to be. I think that was a big part of why Vancouver wasn't super successful with that other friend group.
Agreed.
The rigid expectations of how the trip is going to go. Be there to be flexible, see what happens, see what kind of adventures unfolds, and just enjoy the memories that you're making with the people that you're there with.
That you love and that you chose to go on that adventure with in the first place.
Exactly.
There's a reason why,
right.
hopefully.
I think that artificial intelligence was pretty smart.
I think they were pretty spot on. And it was a lot of the things that we had already talked about.
All right. I got one last.
Okay,
here we go.
Short
one last story.
Which is going to lead into a personal story.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
And then, you're going to top off this episode with one last personal story that has been transpiring.
Oh, yes. The
Throughout
Asheville. The reason why.
This
We will talk
episode.
about
Okay, here we go.
Tell me your most embarrassing travel moments.
Oh, no.
I'm going to share with you. So we're staying at a luxury suite that I had a personal room attendant who we met briefly when we arrived at the hotel in the afternoon. We were in a hurry to get out and explore. So we ditched our belongings in the room and we headed out to sightsee. When we returned later that evening, we were shocked to find that our luggage had been unpacked for us. Our toiletries were in the bathroom, neatly placed on his and her trays. Our clothes were hung and shoes carefully lined. And then the kicker. My lingerie was splayed out on the bed, angled towards the door,
Oh, no.
with a trail of rose petals leading up and surrounding it. A plate of chocolate strawberries
pretty
and a
presumptuous.
bottle of champagne nearby.
I love
I had a few pieces of lingerie in my bag, so this one had been chosen. And the room attendant must have not noticed, but it had.
Oh, my God.
I'm rocking in the fetal position as I write this, by the way. Had already been used. I was mortified. Needless to say, I could not look at our male room attendant in the eye for the remainder of the stay.
The only thing that would make this better is if like her vibrator was right next to it.
Oh, right. I mean, she probably brought that too. Let's hope, anyways.
Oh my God.
Do you guys have you ever stayed anywhere where you have a personal attendant?
I've had turn down service, never like a personal attendant. So like somebody came into your room like in the evening and like turned your room down and they would leave you like fun things on the pillow, mostly like just chocolates and stuff like that. And like fun things, but never a personal attendant.
Okay. So there are other so she ends with, tell me your most embarrassing stories. And we have some that are, an example is this person boarded a boat. It was a white all white party. She was in white. She got on the boat. She didn't realize. She thought she was with her friends. She went out and she was reaching for a glass of champagne as somebody was passing it around. She got an odd look and she ended up on the wrong boat.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Whoops.
So they dropped her off at the next public ferry.
Oh, well, that's not very nice of them.
No.
They feel like they should have like befriended
Right.
this person all in white for this party.
You know, there wasn't really a lot of good ones, but
I feel like that doesn't really fit.
Does anybody else here at this table have a really embarrassing travel
Anyone
story?
else?
I feel like this is leading up to something.
So
You guys want to hear my really embarrassing travel story?
I do. Yep.
Okay. I feel like I need to like set it up. So
Set the scene.
I'm going to set the scene. My husband and I were recently married, maybe a year or so. We went to a destination wedding in Mexico.
Matt and I were not on this trip.
You guys were not on this trip, but Chris and Matt, who we travel with, came with us. And so I'm going to turn this way. We went out for dinner one night. So it was at an all-inclusive resort and their family was all there. And they were like, they came to us and Matt and Krista And they were like, guys, we need to get away. And I was like, okay, what do you mean? And they're like, we need to get off of this all-inclusive resort. And I was like, fine, what do you want to do? And they're like, we want to go down to this on the beach restaurant. And we were like, great, let's do it. So we went down there and the groom was like ordering shots and shots of tequila. So we drank all these shots of tequila. It was the 6 of us, the bride and groom, Chris and Matt, me and my husband. And ended up, there was a stripper pole. We ended up dancing. There was a DJ booth. I went into the DJ booth at one point in time and changed the music. And the DJ got really mad at me. He made me cry. We couldn't get a taxi cab home. Long story short, the DJ brought us home. We all got home. We went to bed. So here is where it gets really interesting and really, this is my most embarrassing travel story. And I hate that you got me to say this, but I've had a few beers, so we're going to say it. Where the door out of our little, like we were in like a hut. It was like a hut and it was up on stilts and it was like this bungalow thing. Where the door out of our little bungalow was the same place where the door was out of our bedroom to the bathroom. And so in the middle of the night, scantily clad, I had clothes on, not a lot. I ventured out of this door and could not get back in. In search of the bathroom. And I could not get back in. And so I vaguely remember walking around this resort trying to find a bathroom. And I had a lot of shots of tequila and I blame the groom. We will not name him, but I blame him 100%. And so, you know, when you've been drinking and you are like, not really with it, but then like something stressful happens and then all of a sudden you're like,
adrenaline.
I'm with it. All I remember is coming to at the hotel lobby, like where the front desk was, wrapped in towels. I don't know how I got the towels. I don't know who gave them to me. I don't know if I stole them. I don't know if somebody gave them to me.
Wrapped you up?
But I was wrapped in towels and I was 100% lucid. In a matter of 2 seconds. And I turned around. Actually, the bride was there with one of the groomsmen. And I was like, and they were like, what are you doing, Sarah? And I was like, Brian locked me out of the room. And they were like, what? And I was like, Brian locked me out of the room. And I turned around because I 100% knew where I needed to go then.
All right.
And I went right back to the room. I started pounding on the door and I was like, Brian, you locked me out. Let me in. And he let me back in and I went back to bed. And that was the best story.
Do we have a time frame? Like nobody knows how long you were gone.
No idea. I could have ended up in the ocean. I could have ended up like sold as a sex slave. I don't know. It could have been really bad.
Let this be a lesson to you, children.
Don't take shots of tequila.
Tequila
in
makes
Mexico.
your clothes fall out. I mean,
really. I mean, it's a good story. It's funny to look back on now and laugh.
Thank God you're okay.
Thank God I'm okay. And now
those doors,
I don't take shots of tequila anymore. And I really am really careful about staying someplace where there's a door that leads out of the room. That's where the bathroom door should be.
Block the door.
Yeah, there you go.
And Brian was like, Sarah, I didn't lock you out. I'm like, you locked me out. It's all your fault, clearly. He should have been with it enough to make sure I didn't get
Clearly.
Meanwhile, he's
Poor
just passed
Brian.
out and he has no idea you were even gone.
He was. Poor Brian. That's my embarrassing story. I'm really glad that you got that out of me.
It was good. It was
I
good.
know.
And lastly, for anybody that's noticed, I've made several wardrobe changes. Why is that? You guys conned me into this.
Who's telling the
fun
story?
idea.
Are you telling the story? You want me to tell the story?
You tell the story.
Okay. Well, we should cheers first.
Okay, cheers.
So we need a cheers. So again, we have traveled a ton, right? And one of our kind of, not our recent trips, I guess it was a while ago now.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. We went to Asheville, North Carolina, which if you've never been and you have a chance to go, it is one of the most coolest places to go. It is, they have tons of shopping and not culture, maybe? Boutique
Boutiques,
hotels.
And they have some art districts.
Art Deco, like
Yes.
this city was built, like it was started to be built like when Art Deco was really, really big and then the war happened and they had to pause on it for a little while. So the history is really, really rich and they have
Breweries.
lots of them.
Lots of breweries and some distilleries, but mainly breweries.
And Michelin
Most
star restaurants.
breweries per capita
Capita.
within a 1 square mile. I think it's like
It's amazing. And then they
lot.
also have like some of the most dense Michelin star nominated restaurants. So great beer, great food.
Yes.
Also really
Great
cool
shopping.
hiking. We
Hiking.
went to
The
like
Blue
this
Ridge Mountains are
basically,
right there.
a private waterfall
private
after
waterfall.
chatting with one of the locals and getting the inside scoop.
Yeah.
That's also a good travel tip. Make friends with the locals because
Oh, that's a huge travel trip.
they know all the good stuff.
Yes.
So be friendly, be
Yeah.
kind, be nice, tip well.
Tip well.
Yeah.
And so while we were there on the first trip, and it was just the four of us, so Amy and Matt and my husband and I, and we were doing boomerangs. It was kind of when like boomerangs started. Like I feel like it was pretty new to us.
To
It
us.
probably wasn't new, but it was new to
but
us
we're
old people. And so every time we did a boomerang, Matt, because it was a nice day, like had shed layers and kept shedding layers. And then by the end of the night, we were like, Matt, you keep shedding layers. So we have to basically make sure that you continue that trend. And he did a boomerang where he was basically in his boxers.
It was funny.
Well, I lost an article of clothing every
Every
boomerang.
time. Every
Yeah.
time. Yep.
So-
And so we
Made
did
it a
different
thing.
shirts tonight because we didn't want to scare you. Because that would be a little bit intense. But the shirts
Yeah.
were pretty clutch.
You've got the vibe.
Got the vibe.
You've got the
Can't
vibe.
let it out
We
for the
gotta-
whole world.
You know, you gotta have fun.
It was fun.
You gotta have fun.
This was fun.
We had fun.
Hey,
Hey.
thank you
Yes,
for
this was so much
joining
fun.
us tonight.
Absolutely.
And everybody, thank you for listening. Please follow, subscribe, and we appreciate you. Have a great night.
Good night.
Thanks.